G'day, guys. Welcome back to the SuperCoach Swordplay podcast. You're here with me, Janath. I'm joined by my co-hosts, SuperCoach with DR and Steele, SuperCoach, for our 12th episode of the season. Big episode. We're going to unpack the Sicily news. We're going to talk about what to do with him. We're going to talk about the man of steel, or not so much the man of steel this year, Jack Steele. Discounted final upgrades, the way to go or not. We'll be talking about the big Clary versus track debate, and also some value options as possible end in premiums or keepers for your sides. But without further ado, I'll hand it over to you, DR. How'd your week go? Can you give us a bit of a background story as to why you may have some red eyes today?
I'd tell you, mate. This is what I get for trying to be romantic, right? I'm a terrible romantic, but I thought just something a little bit different tonight. Got a florist just up the road from school. So I went in there and I said, mate, I want to surprise Lisa. I want to surprise the wife. Just get her some flowers. I got a block of chocolate from Coles on special as well, which is even better. Won't tell her that, though. Half price. Thank you very much, Coles. Didn't check the use-by date, though. It was in one of those trolleys. I shouldn't say that. That's terrible. I should restart that. And we won't, though, because we're late for time. But long story short, these flowers, whatever they were, his recommendation cost me bloody $60 as well. Of course, he goes for the expensive. I thought maybe $20 to a pair of roses. I'm not a tight ass, really, but anyway. But whatever they were, they bloody stung my eyes. I'm allergic to them. So I had them in the car within 5 minutes. The eyes are going red. I'm coughing, sputtering. So, not too good at the moment. But look, the voice is all good. I'm going to get through. And look, apart from red eyes, SuperCoach-wise, back inside the top 10K club, boys. So I've joined you again. I left you just for the week, but I'm back inside again. 2007 for the weekly score. Had a couple of duds. End up taking Dunkley's VC score, which you got to. A little bit of bad luck when Bont was the backup there, but did have some other stud scores as well from some premiums. So all in all, really good week. Brisbane took care of the Swans, back on the winners list again. So at the moment, can't complain, boys. Just looking forward to getting past this final bye to get back to a little bit of normality, if there is, if that's even a thing in SuperCoach, normality. I don't think it is.
Well put, DR. Well, I'll handball it over to you, Spills. How did you go for the week? What did you score, and what's your season rank looking like now?
A lot better than it did about 7 or 8 weeks ago. So I scored 2018. So I've trumped his both. So cheeky drive-by from myself. But more importantly, lads, 7 rank rises in a row. So we were ranked pretty much 30K in round 7, and now we've pushed our way to I'm ranked 5.9K overall. So I went up another 678 spots and top 3 overall. So 8 out of 10 league wins and got the cashy by 5 points, I reckon, by a bloke who's in the bottom 4. So didn't fill me with a whole lot of confidence, but that's what matters, lads. So going pretty well. A bit of a shame though with Sicily. I'm still obliged to hold him. We'll talk about that later on for sure. But we've got a full team now, so I think I'm gonna bring in Lockie Neal this week, and that will complete my team with Max Gorn at R3, who out of the premium, but I'm not really treating him as one. He's on my bench, so if we can move him to a Butters or an Oliver type in the next couple of weeks, the team will be done, and hopefully we won't be looking back. But pretty happy with it, but not as happy as you, Janath. The Blues got a win, and the Baggers are back, baby.
The Baggers are back. Before I get there, though, Spills, I reckon this is a good lesson for you, that this is what happens when you don't focus on drafting, when you don't wake up at 3 a.m. to pick up Sam Petracca season.
SPS pick up.
Yeah, I've lost sleep over that. I'm not going to lie. Been a bit more relaxed in the last. Nothing to lose. So
I reckon lessons learned here: focus on leagues and not on draft.
I'm only going for leagues now. I'm going for leagues, and I'm getting 7 bloody green arrows. Have a listen to you, mate. Bloody trolling us all, mate.
My draft has absolutely hit a wall. Oh, it's so bad.
It's inversely proportional, the two teams.
Chris Dory's basically given up on me. There's been no trade proposals because I think he knows that I've checked out. Let's be honest. So I think I had about.
I think you checked out when you picked up SPS.
Yeah, that was it. That was end of season.
Yeah, got a bit ahead of myself. It's fair to say. I had about playing players on my bench over the bye. So that just goes to show, there's just no way. So focusing a bit more on classic, but still more importantly, focusing a little bit more on leagues. Otherwise, I think I'll still finish okay. But I'm looking at win a few leagues and see how we go. So I'm going to hold Sicily as a result. Otherwise, if I was playing for overall, I'd be trading him. But I'm really keen to talk about that
we'll
later
get
on.
to that, Phils. Don't jump the gun here. Just with regards to my week, 2008. So DR, we did play each other in your league.
Oh, here we go.
And I got up by 1 point. And I know that we're going to lead into it. But the trades are last week. So took out Asava, took out Weddle, and did pull the trigger on getting rid of Jordan DeGoey, and brought in Lockie Neal, Marriage, and Nasaya Wangani Malera. And I'll tell you what, just a bit of backstory here. For those that have been watching, Callum Mills became Jordan DeGoey, and Jordan DeGoey became Nasaya Wangani Malera. Now, if any of you guys play Mario Kart around here, you probably know the lightning bolt, where you have the lightning bolt and you bump another car and you make them smaller, and they bump another car, they make someone else smaller. It felt like this trade was a cascade. Callum Mills gets injured in the bloody first 5 minutes of the game. Then Nasaya Wangani Malera's on the bench with a knee injury in the first 5 minutes of the game as well. I was like, can I have some luck with this trade? Like, seriously, it's like they're like passing on the play to each other.
The first trade.
They're like passing on the play. But no, Nasaya came back. He had the role. Then it started raining, and you're like, all right, he's not going to touch the ball again because the ball's not going to be down there. They're just going to kick the ball forward at all costs. So I'll take 59 from Naz, but that's my rant because I swear if Naz got injured in the first 5 minutes after trading him in, this team was being deleted. It's like this trade path that has got to Nasaya has been an absolute nightmare. But DR, I reckon this leads into as to why you lost by 1 point to me. Take it away with your rant.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me twice about that during the potty already, Janath. I wonder what count we're going to get up to by the end of this. Boys, let me tell you, right? They're very, very, very rarely do I need notes for a rant. Just off the top of the head.
What do you got for us, DR? Fuck no, mate.
That's just my rant.
Steady.
I'm not even joking. I'll need to summarize, boys, because this is a bloody essay. Let me tell you this.
Tell me this man hasn't put preparation into this one.
My rant is about Jack, the man of Steele. Man of Steele. Playing more like Clark Kent at the moment, boys. Now, talk about one of the biggest disappointments of my season. And, geez, I can't be too disappointed because actually 10.6% of people actually started this man at over 600K. I can understand why. Well, look at his previous couple of seasons. A beast, a jet, and a player that we think to ourselves, well, we can just select this bloke for the next 5 or 6 years. Nice, safe, easy pick, captain the club. He'll give us a 120 plus average. It just hasn't happened this year. Is it his fault or not? Well, I'm not too sure. Now, this just came out today. I was having a chat with Janath about this pre-podcast. This is a quote by Brad Crouch. Now, talk about getting concerned. This bloody concerns me, let me tell you. This is from AFL Ratings on Twitter, so shout out to you guys. Brad Crouch today, quote, "We are playing a different game style, which may be negatively impacting the numbers of Jack Steele." What sort of a teammate comes out with a quote like that about the numbers of another teammate? Even bloody Brad Crouch is concerned about the bloke. Now, I don't know if he's a super coach or a fantasy player, but if Brad Crouch is getting concerned, I'm bloody concerned as well. Now, what's wrong with him? Is it his knee, his shoulder, his bloody Achilles? What's going on with this man? Ross Lyon reckons his knee's fine. I call BS, Ross Lyon. You are having an absolute laugh, mate. If you think this guy is fit, or you're claiming this bloke to be fit apart from a sore Achilles, you're absolutely kidding yourself because there's something going on, all right? The kryptonite, it's closer, it's near, all right? I don't know what's happened to the bloke. I just don't know what's happened. In comparison to someone like a Tim Taranto, right? So Steele has had, and we know that he's not the biggest kicker of the football traditionally. He never really has been. Loves a handball, but he has had a total of 18 kicks over the last 3 weeks. Timmy Taranto against St Kilda got a lazy 21 just last week. What's going on? Wet conditions. This was the game for Jack Steele to say, I am back, boys. I am back. I'm going to take this game by the scruff of the neck and absolutely dominate here. Even if I don't get much of the footy, I'll pile on 15 tackles. 15 tackles, close to a quarter of that. 4 tackles for the game in those conditions. Give me a break. Again, I'm comparing him to Timmy Taranto, who is, let me tell you, having a phenomenal season. You idiot again, Kane Corns. But he had 10 tackles. 10 tackles.
He's a shocker.
Almost double the disposal count. It may have actually been double. I'm not too sure. Plus more than double the tackle count as well. Something is going on with this man. I jumped on in round 8 after his 126 versus Port. I thought, beauty, here we go. Nice price. 95, 84, 135. Yes, is he back? No. 62, 85, and a 52. What's going on? He's dropped weight in the preseason as well. Ross Lyon wanted them to be a running side, so he's dropped some bulk. Is that affecting him? I'm not too sure. Well, if you're losing strength, surely then your tackling slightly got to be affected as well. I'm not sure, but yeah, 468,900 with a break even of 132. Is it now or never? What the hell?
What do you do?
Are we going to do with Jack Steele?
I love how you go on Janath mode in this with all the stats. I love it so much. Honestly, I don't know. Like, how hard is it? You never would have seen it. I mean, the steel rod's doing him no favors. I think he's got that in his shoulder, isn't it? I mean, it is absolutely an absolute shadow. I can't get a read on it because he's run out of excuses. I think you watch George's review, he doesn't even know what's going on with the bloke, and he's all over it. So, I can only imagine, mate. How
quickly, sorry to jump in again. Bloody Rant. The great Cheezo, he works, and I think I may have mentioned this before on the potty, I'm not too sure, but he works in the medical field, the great Cheezo, and shout out to you, great man. Cannot wait to catch up for a beer. But we were saying that he was gobsmacked, absolutely gobsmacked, how quickly Jack Steele came back from that injury. He just couldn't believe it. And this is a man who knows what he's talking about, works in the field as well. He said that he was dead certain, and I think it was at least another couple of weeks that he should have waited. He was completely against it. He said that there's no way that he should be back. That may have been the case. I'm not too sure. But Janath, do you have anything that you can add to this, mate? Any opinions? I suppose a big question that we'll probably need to answer, and it's a question that's going to be a pretty hot topic this week, is do we trade the bloke this week? Is he a must trade out? That's a big question. I'm an owner. You're not an owner, mate. 1 point. 1 point this week. Get another handball, Jack. Bloody hell. Janath, what do you got to say, mate? Apart from thank you, Jack, for giving me a bloody 1 point victory against DR this week.
Try to act smug here, Janath.
No. Swills, you know that I'm not the smug one out of us three here. But but I will add that I empathize with you, DR. He's been such a soldier for SuperCoach teams for a couple of years now, and it's not even the soldier. It's not even the shoulder. It's the knee. It's that damn knee that he's just, since that Adelaide game when he kicked it into, I forgot whoever it was. It might have even been Rory Laird's foot, or like Rory Sloane's leg that he kicked himself into, and he just hasn't been the same since then. We thought he turned the corner with the Giants game, and at that price point, I think it is worth moving off of him purely for the fact that if you have him as your M8 and you can't loop him with someone, it's probably 40 to 30 points off each week to a premium. And DR, if we want to roll in the importance, the value of every point here, do you want to give us some data to show what is the gap between, let's start off with the top 5K and the top 1K. So how many points separates who's at 5,000th now and who's at 1,000th now?
All right, mate. So, and this is very close to 5,000. It's very rare when you look at the rankings, you get an exact 5,000. There's normally like 10 teams that are on like the same rank. And so it's these really weird numbers, but I've got as close as I can to each rank anyway. So currently 5,000, the coach who was ranked 5,000 has 30,691 total points. The coach is currently ranked 1,000th overall, has 31,101 points. So that's a 410-point difference.
Yep.
So from 5K to 1K, 410-point difference just there.
And do you want to just to add on, or just so that we can look at into the big picture, from 1,000 to 100?
1,000 to 100, you're looking at 373 points between those two. That's a gap there. And let me tell you, mate, the gap gets even wider. And this is where we get to the real elite super coaches of 2023. The gap between first and 100th is 660 points. So it was 373 from 100 to 1,000. From 100 to the first, that doesn't double, but goes close to, with 660. When you look at the other increments from just say 10K to 9K to 8, I'll give you the increments very quickly from 10K to 1K. So 10K to 9K, 40 points. 9 to 8, 46. Then you go 47, 54, 63, 69, 80, 101, and then 160. Yeah. So they're the small increments you're looking at there from 10 to 1. But once you get inside that top 1,000, that's where we're seeing a really massive, massive difference here. So the importance of, say, a good captaincy score is huge. And I know that it's maybe not as relevant at this stage of the season where we're getting pretty close to full premium, but if you win the rookie roulette for a week, you could rise 1,000 spots in the ranks. If you're sitting at 10K, you're getting to 9K just with a rookie move such as that. And then it comes back to the discussion. We won't get into a huge buy discussion, but, you know, the difference between fielding 16 and 18 this week, then the difference between fielding 18 and, for those lucky people, which is rare, 19 or 20, being able to drop off a couple of those dud scores. The rankings this week, this is going to be huge in this bye week, because after the bye, our teams get very similar again, don't they? You know, those really common premiums, etc. But we've got some different players out at this stage with the last bye. It's going to be huge this week, mate. So if you can get to 18 plus, you should be rising in the ranks, I think. And again, discussion, how many rookies you got, how many premiums on field. There's a lot more to it, but some really, really interesting numbers there. And the total from 10K to 1,000 is 660 points. So if you're sitting around the 10K and your goal, such as myself, is to get to 5K, you're only looking at 250 points. It's very, very achievable. Very achievable.
I guess the main reason that I was asked for those numbers, Dio. So now let's think about this in the case of Jack Steele. So you're saying that from 5K to 1K, it's 440 points. From 1,000 to 100, it's 373 points. There's 10 rounds remaining after this week. So if we divide 440 by 10, that's 44 points a week. If you can get 44 points out of trading Jack Steele to a Clayton Oliver, to a Christian Petracca, by using money from a rookie sideways, this is a true sideways that won't be able to be done in one trade for most coaches. Those 44 points a week could be the difference between upgrading a rookie to a premium. That's just the way that Jack Steele is playing at the moment. And I think we need to look a bit more holistically than just thinking this is Jack Steele, why we trade him out. If you truly think his body is cooked and he's got a 150 break even this week, this could probably be the last week that you have to trade him out and get him to a player that you know will make up ground for the season onwards from here. Spills, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think you probably, DR in particular, definitely needs to trade him. You got the trades to do it as well. I mean, you've got nearly double the amount of trades I've got. So I think in my case, what I'm doing with Gawn, I'm actually going to go like one down for the rookie and then one up, because Gawn's 500K, but it's not going to be enough to get up to Oliver or Butters or something. So I kind of got to go down to go up. And I think you should do the same, DR. Try find a rookie, bank some money, and go Steele up to someone that's going to be a top 8, because you got the trades and you sure as hell have the boosts as well. So I think I know George has Jack Steele, but the poor bugger's sort of stuck with him, because I'm pretty sure he's only got 4 or 5 trades and no boosts. So they're a bigger fish to fry, and they're rookies that he's got to get off the field. I think you're in a different situation and you can afford that sort of, because it is critical. I think it's a little bit different with Will Day because he has sort of found form, and it's tough because it's at that price where there's no real value in trading him. But yeah, as we discussed, that 40 points, that is like, at least Will Day's been average, not terrible, and I think he's almost a must trade, but that's from a non-owner, so you can add to that.
Can I ask you one quick question, boys? And this is very selfish, individual to my team. Would you rather this? Obviously, save a trade and have Jack Steele's M8 with Will Ashcroft as cover for the year, or lose Ashcroft as cover and go Steele up to Libba? So would you prioritize your cover in Ashcroft, or would you bank that money, go to Ashy down to a whoever? What do you need? 200K. You need 150. Let's just say. What would you do? No cover, dodgy cover, yet Libba over Steele, or be able to loop, say, a Steele and Ashcroft each week and hope to jag 100 plus from one of them? Where are you going?
What are your plans for Humphrey? Are you gonna?
He's gone next week. I'll be left next week with one upgrade to go in the midfield: Humphrey, Weddle, and Ashcroft. So the idea was to keep Ashcroft and use the other two to get up to Clary.
Yeah, well, Ashcroft, like Humphrey was going to be my Ashcroft. I think he's going to be my cover, but this is the week to do it because we've actually got some pretty good options. You probably know a lot more about Dev Robertson than I do in terms of his job security, but that ship certainly hasn't sailed. There's Win Hager as well at 202K, who's just scored an 88. There's Sheldrick, who's 190 something and just scored a 90 plus. So there are like cover options to go down to, and I think you could do way worse than having those blokes or one of those blokes sitting on your bench. And Dev Rob and Humphrey will be my cover for the rest of the season, and I should have 7 defenders if I need to, if there's any carnage. It went obviously when we get Sicily back, but I think we talk about sacrifices, and I love the thought of having Ashcroft cover, but would you rather Ashcroft and Steele or a Win Hager and Libba? I know what I'd rather, but that's just me. And I'm definitely going Libba and Win Hager and risking it because I think Win Hager is still going to be a pretty good option on your bench and should be decent cover if he's not a sub. But yeah, I don't know if there's much. I don't really have the luxury to hold Ashcroft. It's a tough one, mate. I'm struggling to help you. What do you reckon, Janath?
I think in your position, D, I'd be going to Libba as well. The fact is that I think you'll still have 5 trades remaining even if you do that, right?
If I do that, I'll have 4.
Okay, 4.
How many upgrades do you have?
That'll be none. So so this week I'm getting in DCAM, which is the second last. Next week was going to be Clary with those 2 that I just mentioned. That would be done. Team
with you need to trade Steele this week.
That's the issue.
Does that mean you bring Clary forward a week? So you bring Clary in this week, Libba in next week?
He's in doubt to play, Janath. Like this.
Yeah, I know. So that's the tough part because we want.
Well, it doesn't have to be Clary. If you're looking for a Melbourne premium, does it? It doesn't have to be Clary.
Someone hasn't read the run sheet. He's trying to jump the gun against Wills. We're going to get to the track versus Clary debate, but yes, DR, I think we've tried to help you out there. We both agree. Get in that extra. Libba should comfortably outscore Steele from here on out, unless Steele miraculously covers from his knee injury and becomes 2021 Jack Steele.
I guarantee you will, like Ridley and Doherty and all these other blokes. Anyway, I'll do the community a favour and bugger him off so he can come good for everyone else. There you go. Do everyone a service.
All right. Well, that's a good discussion there that we had on Jack Steele. I guess we shall segue now, Spills, into the discussion about Clary and also into the discussion about the Melbourne boys. So it came out, I think it was yesterday, that Clayton Oliver is managing that hand injury and that he needs to pass another fitness test be proven fully fit to play the game. So he still does have a few more things to tick off to be available for Thursday night. It's the earliest game as well, so we will find out. And there's only 2 days left, to be fair, for that game. So it is still very much up in air. Now, I'm just going to give my personal perspective on this, coming from a medical sort of background, similar to Chizo, great legend, great man there. I think that if Clary plays, if Clary plays, he is 100%. Now, the reason why I say this is that Simon Goodwin has been steadfast from the start that they're not going to take any risks with arguably their best or one of their best players. And if he's proven to be fit, I don't see them taking him in at 90%. And if he plays, I think he goes straight to the top of the target list for this week. Unless, and this is a big unless you can bring in Track this week and Clary next week. That is because Clary's got a 136 break even, so you almost are afforded the luxury of waiting a week. But if you have to decide between one of the Melbourne boys, Track or Oliver, and Oliver plays, I think I would be going Clayton Oliver. That's my take. I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say. DR, we'll start with you. Where do you stand on, firstly, Clayton Oliver as an option this week, and secondly, relative to Christian Petracca? Around the same price.
If there's one bloke in SuperCoach that you don't want to back against, it's Clary. Let's be honest. Now, the issue is we haven't really got much data how he plays coming back from injury because the bloke is so durable, isn't he? We know this week that he's going down to GMHBA against the Cats there. If you look at his history, he enjoys playing the Cats and playing down there, which surprised me a little bit. I thought it might be a bit lower. I thought that an O'Connor may have given him some grief down there, but he actually scores pretty well against the Cats. Now, I'm with you, Janath. I don't think that they're going to risk this man, are they? He's already been out. What's it been? 3 weeks, 4 weeks?
Yeah,
4
weeks now, yeah.
4 weeks now. He's been out for 4 weeks. So are you really going to rush him in? I probably don't think so. Look, these are Clary's season averages for his career. 70.3, and then 111.5, 114.7, 109.4, 122.2, 123.5, 127.1, and currently 124.7 this year. Are you really going to back against a bloke like that? It is just ridiculous, you know. And these are his scores just for this year: 113, 135, 156, 121, 115, 98. The only score under 100: 134, 136, 119, and a 120. You compare that to someone like a Lachie Neale, for example, who's 8th. Now, Clary is currently 2nd for averages, Bont being the 1st. You look at someone like a Neale who's an 8th, who lots of people are looking at 8 and still a really good pick. But we look at this consistency, little 5-round stretch from rounds 4 to 8. 102, 176, 76, 124, 63. You can't compare that, can you? Then we get to Track. So his season averages pretty, well, not poor at the start, but he had a really big breakout year. 117.5, 111.4, 112.4, and then 118.9. So he's certainly been building. But compare that to Clary, he's just so safe, isn't he? Clary is in my opinion, in a league of his own. It's almost like, and you got to probably play him with Bont there as well. But I just think there is a gap in between the two. And Track, I think that his ceiling scores 167, that was against the Roos, 148, that was against the Hawks, 159, no offense, Janath, that was against the Blues in round 12. And you blokes weren't traveling too well. When he played the Hawks, they weren't traveling too well either. So he's more of a bully. I think it seems like looking at his scores here, his ceiling ones are the ones against his lower sides. I probably should have looked at his upcoming fixture, because if he's playing of those bottom 8 sides, then maybe it is Track for those big ceiling. Do you want
to hear the last 5 weeks, DR?
All right, what's he doing for SuperCoach?
I'll give you the last 6 weeks. Adelaide at home, Richmond at home, North and Tassie, Carlton at home, Hawthorn at home, Swans at home. At the SCG. That is 6 bottom. Well, I guess Adelaide's like borderline. Let's say the last 5 games against 5 bottom 8 teams.
So
that's really insightful, isn't it? Because that matters. Because that's finals. That's where it matters, mate.
this is where it matters. And the couple of weeks leading into that,
Yeah.
booking a final spot. So if he plays against the Roos and the Hawks again, I don't expect him to replicate a 167 and 148. If he goes closer, he's got history there.
Not beyond him, is it?
Or boys, or tell me this, because he's performed so well against them, does Track possibly get the tag and Clary gets free?
Yeah, but can you tag Clary? Can you tag Track? Teams can't do it. They just move him forward.
Not, can you just send him forward probably for a while as well? And who's going to... Yeah, do you know what? It's a good point. Clary's the one who gets tagged, isn't he?
But if we just think about this holistically, even if Track goes 150 against those teams, Clary will still score 125 in those games.
He's consistent.
It's not like he's not going to score well against the bad teams just because Track's going off. It's just that Track is that VC candidate, Clary is that C candidate, and if you have them both in your team,
great point.
It's almost perfect having. Just if you have an early game, you go with the Track VC. If you have a late game, you go with the Clary C. And
absolutely agree.
It really comes down to what kind of play you are. There's so much risk attached with Clayton Oliver this week. But like you just mentioned, DA, he's the epitome of consistency. And we all projected, I think, Spills, I think you had him at 3rd last week when we did our end of season rankings, projected average, and we both had DR Clary at 1. Yeah. Even with all of this.
Yeah, that's our confidence.
That's just how confident we are in that you will be okay.
Yeah.
So, Spills, if you had to decide between going Oliver or Track this week, let's assume Oliver plays. Which way are you leaning at the moment?
Well, I'm in a really luxurious position, if you will, because I'm not looking at either of them at all this week because I'm going for Lachie Neale because he's a clear top 8 midfielder at some reasonable value. But next week is the last one. That's the Gorn up to anyone I want. It'll be rookie down, bank 100K or something. And then, I'll be able to target Butters, Libba, Track, Oliver, who I want. So this is a really good week to get a nice sample size on how fit Oliver actually is. If he comes out and goes 130 plus and you kind of think, all right, he's on here. He's someone I reckon I'll bring in because you are paying up for him $650K. So I'd like to have a little bit of money in the bank for a fallback luxury trade or injury trade or anything like that because it will be my last premium on field. So that's a bit of an issue. It's a massive decision because I can only have one. But
how about if it was just this week, though, Spill? So how about if they said you've got to trade one in this week? Do you go with Clary or with those question marks maybe around his fitness? Are you going with Track? If you've got to I completely agree, mate. I'd love to have a look. People would love to have a look at both.
But if you're not having a look,
this week, who are you actually going, mate? If you're forced.
I'm going to lock arms with both of you and go Track because he's fully fit. He's put a full season. He's got that. He's got that really easy run, that's critical. I mean, I'd love to have that. Imagine having my team with Sicily and Track at the end of the season. Oh, that's going to be unreal because not many people will have Sicily because they're all trading out. So I think probably Petracca because there's so much uncertainty of Oliver. And the problem is if he hits a wall again, you're almost out of trades. Like you can't really afford to get rid of him as a sideways. It's such a tough one because it's so late in the season in terms of upgrades and trades. I think it depends how many trades you have. I think Oliver's good for consistency. He couldn't have summed it up better, but just on durability and what he's done for the whole season, I think Petracca, boys, for my liking, he's just so hard to go past.
Fair enough.
But I can completely understand. I can't argue with either options. They're both clear top 4 midfielders. But it's a fair price to pay for someone that's battled a series of bizarre injuries. His hand, what was the other one?
Can I just add in one thing? I think whatever decision you make, I don't think even if you go the lowest averaging player from here on out, I don't think that the gap is going to be that big that it's going to hurt you.
I don't think so. Yeah,
I don't think the gap's going to be huge.
Unless Track's last 5 weeks, it's not just about the average at that point. It's getting, like, for instance, Spills, in your case, you're playing for league wins. you don't care what the next 3 weeks look like for track.
Not
As long
great.
as
Not a great deal.
As long as he beats up on the last 5 games, you're laughing to the bank.
Yeah, so maybe league players go track. League players may look at track.
Yeah,
those last 5 games.
I'll go with that.
It's a discussion, isn't it?
I'll go with that, actually.
Players playing for overall. Others are playing for league. So not everyone's playing for overall. And that's probably something that I forget a lot of the time because I'm just focused on overall. I'm in cash league, in great leagues, but I'm just an overall type player. So maybe if that's the case, Janath, because you brought up a really good point with that SuperCoach finals fixture and lead up to the finals as well with those 6 matches. Maybe if you are more of a league player, you could go in to bully on those sides. And even if you look at the scores without Oliver for track, it's 122, 159, 95. He did have the last 2 weeks his highest CBA count, which was 81. I think he went down a bit, then 81. But Sparrow's going to be affected by that because I think Sparrow had a couple of really high CBA games as well. So I think that's fine. Not much of a point there. But look, to end this, I think we've talked about the numbers. I get it. I just cannot go past Clary. I can't look at those career numbers. I can't look at that consistency and not get the man in. I think it's going to be really close between the two. And would I be surprised if track average more? Probably not. I wouldn't be surprised. I think it could happen, but I just can't back against. I think there's
a fair chance that Oliver out averages Petracca for the rest of the season, but I think there's also a fair chance that Petracca out averages Oliver for the last 4 or 5 weeks.
Interesting point. Yes.
Take that with a grain of salt. I think, it couldn't have been, in summary, it couldn't have been summed up any better. If you're playing for overall, like you two boys, like I'm going to try my best. Don't get me wrong. We're going all right, but I'm not going to.
We are going well, yeah.
I'm not a top 1%, 1K sort of player. So I'm going to try and get my team preparated specifically for league. So I reckon Petracca just for my situation, but you boys, I'd recommend Oliver, and that's a good discussion, lads. And I hope that helps a lot of the viewers for this one because it's a clear topic that's definitely in need of being diving into. So that's good.
Well, I guess that sort of helps hopefully clear up the Clary track discussion. I know this is going to be a really hot topic throughout the week, so we'd love to hear your thoughts. Put it down in the comments. DM us, tweet us at on Twitter about where you guys are thinking. The next hot topic, they just keep coming. What to do with James Sicily? So, Spills, I know you're strongly in the hold camp. DR, we are both non-owners of Sicily, but if we'll try play the sort of devil's advocate here to Spills' hold, and we'll try and say why you may want to trade. And so, DR, what may be the first reason that those with Sicily may be looking to trade him out?
Well, I think it sort of goes back to the discussion we were having earlier about the value of each point in regards to your rankings. So let's just say you've got a Seamus Mitchell as your cover and you hold Sicily. Now, I'm going to give Sicily, and again, these are just numbers that I'm projecting. You may project completely different numbers, so take this with a grain of salt. But I'm going to say Sicily 130. Some people may say too high, too low, don't know. And I'm going to give, I'll tell you what, I'll even give Seamus Mitchell an 80. So I'll give him an 80, which is above his season average. So I'll be very generous there for Seamus. Maybe with Sicily out, it could be further than that. I'm not too sure. So, yeah, I'm probably looking at the numbers that he's got with Sicily in the side. But let's just say there's a 50-point gap each week. So you're going to make 50 points there. Let's just say, or lose 50 points by keeping him. And 1, 2, 3, if I just do some quick maths, if you're on the top 10K, you could get to 7,000. So there's 150 points difference between 10,000 and 7,000. That's 3,000 spots in the rankings once you get to that top 10K mark. So for me, you're leaving too many points on the table.
And can I elaborate on that? Because as an owner, I can get away with it because I have 7 eligible defenders, if you will. So, because I've got DPP, I've got, for example, I've got full defense with Dawson in the midfield. so I can get away with it and field Humphrey as cover. So in my personal scenario, not only that, I can loop him with Dev Robertson or Winhager, who I'm thinking about bringing this week. So I can get away with it. I think it's team dependent. If you're really thin down defense and you're reluctant to hold on to a Mitchell to get you along the lines, I would definitely trade Sicily. But in my personal circumstance, I've got enough cover. I mean, I've got 7 premium defenders if I want them. So I have cover there and I'm going to use it. And good and great rookie cover. I mean, Humphrey and Robertson are a loop. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that rookie-wise, unless you do have Ashcroft DR. But yeah, I'm definitely holding him for that reason. But if I didn't have the premiums, I'd probably almost be looking to trade him, but still looking at leagues. But yeah, I think most teams will have to trade him. Let's just say that.
So Spills, just to play devil's advocate with you here, are you not at all tempted, for instance, to side swap Sicily to a Clayton Oliver? You can get Dawson into your defense, and you'll still get the 50-point difference, because yes, you are going to loop Humphrey and Dev Robertson, right? But let's say that Dev Robertson scores 70 and he plays first, and you're tossing up between playing Humphrey or not. Because Humphrey went in, they were getting pumped. We were pumping them, and they didn't move Humphrey into the midfield. They took Humphrey out of the midfield, which was confusing because you're like, they're coming off a bye. They got a young player that looks so hungry for the footy. So why are you moving him forward?
Still scored 74.
I know he scored 74, but that's a huge red flag, because you're like, all right, he was going to be my cover as my mid forward cover, and now I'm getting cold feet on them. I'm like, okay, this isn't looking too promising. So perhaps what owners can be thinking about is, all right, if you're not in Spills' situation, you don't have even if you have a Mitchell type, you can get Clayton Oliver in probably the easiest route of any other team, because Sicily to Clayton Oliver is like 6K or something. It's very minor. So you can get to him in one trade. You don't need to get any spud rookies that are yet to debut or don't really help your team structure out. And a great example of that is, so I've got Marriage to my team, and I'm really hesitant on bringing in another forward rookie that doesn't have DPP. Because at the end of the day, if you have an F7 and an F8 that don't have DPP, they're going to be on your bench for the rest of the year in those 2 spots. And that's really, really dangerous. And so if it comes down to a situation like that, if you need to get Clayton Oliver in, would you be tempted to just side swap Sicily to Oliver? Bang. You get that out of the way, and you can rest easy knowing that Clayton Oliver should at least net you 40 to 50 points on Humphrey Robertson. I say should because, let's say Oliver goes 120, Humphrey goes 80. That's quite reasonable, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's a tricky one, but again, very team dependent. It's really easy for me to just sit back and hold him when you got a 500k ruckman at R3 that I'm just going to cash him out next week, and it will be the easiest thing I ever do. And I can jump on Oliver then quite comfortably and probably go Humphrey down to a rookie, pay up for Oliver, and still have 200k in the bank to fall back on. And the problem I have with getting rid of Sicily is that one down, one up with Maxi Gordon next week will leave me with a completed team, elite cover, but just 2 trades left for the rest of the season. So I'm already cutting it fine. If I can skate through, it could be worth it. But getting rid of Sicily not only ruins my future plans for Gorn and the downgrade options, because if I had a boost like DR, it'd be really easy because I'm going 2 down.
Right.
What exactly right. Look at the great man still thinking about holding Steele. But yeah, I have to go 2 down, 1 up to get a good midfielder. And if I had another boost, the conversation's a bit different. Maybe I could get rid of Sicily, but I just can't. I'm not in a position. I'm just going to go for the marathon over the sprint and a bit of short-term pain for long-term gain. Sicily will come back and he will be a beautiful pod. I'm happy to just cop it short-term because it's only 3 weeks. Shorty held Stewart for 4 weeks last year. So He knows
He is a Geelong man. He couldn't let him go.
Yeah,
sure he just couldn't let Tommy go.
I'm a closet Hawthorn supporter as well. I actually rate a lot.
That is awful, Spills. How can you be a Don
I
supporter?
know. Look at the Bombers Guernsey in the background. Like, probably annoyed a couple.
Brisbane
because I just
Scarves.
love Sicily and I love Will Day. Yeah, just an absolute bloody bandwagoner if you've ever met one.
On Instagram, I reckon with a Gold Coast jersey on before as well.
Yeah,
Still.
yeah.
So where are we going here, mate? You get around, don't you, mate?
I'm a serious bandwagoner.
AFL pimp man.
Bombers all the way through, but I'm a serious bandwagon on my day.
Yeah. Just one quick thing I just want to add to this, and we'll finish it up because I know we've been going along with it. You said it was team dependence, Spill. So 2 quick points. Another issue that other people have. Now, you said you've got some good cover. You know, there's lots of Constables, Chessers, Mullins, Cowans down there, and Cotters. For lots of people, they just don't have the good cover. And
then
just
you've got to trade in
then you might have to keep a Weddle or a Seamus there to cover for Sicily. Is that then affecting other upgrades that you've got? Instead of downgrading Weddle to someone, using that cash to upgrade somewhere else, having to keep him there to cover for Sicily, maybe actually stopping you from using Weddle's money, if that's what you might have been planning to do, and to upgrade somewhere else. So you could trade Sicily and you could trade, say, a Weddle. You could actually get 2 premiums in rather than have maybe your rookie and your other mid or other rookie there. So there's so many layers to this, isn't there? And it's at the end of the day, as you mentioned many times, Spilsy, team dependent, mate.
In that situation, you probably would trade him, but because I've got Dev Robertson looking at Win Hager, who are going to be I'll be stuck with them for the rest of the season. That's not bad cover, I don't reckon.
If you're not planning on trading him, it doesn't affect you in that circumstance anyway. So
plus Humphrey short term and the DPP I discussed earlier, being able to swing 6 defenders back and have Sicily on the bench premium wise is a massive advantage. So look, I think, my personal situation, it's very, very good to hold him, but I think a lot of teams should trade him. But that's
fair enough, buddy.
Me. I would hate to field a rookie D6.
And just to bookend this discussion, are there any sort of, let's just talk defenders and midfielders, because I think that's where the most sort of discussion is at. Defenders that we'd be looking into trade Sicily down to, like we thinking about, can we go down to Ridley, Redmond types? Like I think that's where I sort of see it's a bridge too far, because you're going from a locked good, like proven goods, to suspective commodity. So not exactly sure what Ridley will average from around here. But if you don't have a Dawson, if you don't have a Sinclair,
I reckon there's 3 options. Dawson, Stewart, Sinclair. I'll give you 3 options that I'd be comfortable going to.
Agreed there.
Aside from those blokes, midfield, are we talking this week?
Guys that have come off, people that have had their buys. Anyone that's
tough, isn't it? Because a lot of dogs, like Port Adelaide. Yeah, it is.
I think the Melbourne boys.
I'm massive on Libba, but I think you've got like Spills is doing Lockie Neal. I think he's hit form again. Still, at a decentish price, what he could do. Yeah. The Melbourne boys we've talked at length about, and we know that we're fans of both of those players as
Parrish,
well. So
off injury, is that too risky to go Sicily down?
No, don't go.
There's no way I'd do that.
No way.
No.
All right.
I'd almost go Mills like early, but
Mills.
Well, he's going to come. He's going to come back and dominate, I reckon. But
you had that big call. He was your 8th average in midfielder, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. But you got to wait. But you got to hold up on that. You got to wait for that price drop, and then you get up.
Tom Mitchell. Too steep.
Yeah, he's very consistent. Just good for a 107, really. Most weeks. So if you're really scraping,
I guess this also goes to show that if you do want to trade Sicily out to, there's not that many options that scream pick me. Maybe apart from the Melbourne boys as sort of the cleanest route to get to them. There's a lot up in there at the moment. So I think
Lairdy, what's Lairdy at? Is he still at a decent price? He's just come off a massive. I know it was against West.
625k. So he's coming off his buy, obviously. So if you don't have him, 68% of the competition still don't own him. So imagine given that Sicily's owned more than Laird, there's going to be a bunch of non-Laird owners amongst the Sicily owners.
Zerett's got a nice SuperCoach finals, doesn't he? I think he plays North and West Coast in those last 4 weeks. Maybe someone to look at. I'm not as hot on him. You're not getting the value that you were getting whenever most people got him a few weeks ago, whatever.
Yeah, he's gone.
Just another name maybe to throw out that's come off the bye.
Well, that's awesome chat there, boys. I guess we're almost done with the discussion points. Do we think about discounted final upgrades? So I'll firstly ask you just a quick yes, no. So when we're thinking about upgrades, would you rather hold on to a Humphrey as opposed to a Seamus Mitchell if that means you can only bring in a Tom Mitchell versus, at the end of the day, a Tom Liberatore? Or do you just pay up for the Libber and have a bit more suspective, or you just like a bit more sus bench cover in terms of that? What do you reckon?
I'll say pay up. I'll say pay up.
Yeah.
Pay up?
Yeah,
You know what, Janath?
I'll give you a yes for a pay up. Depending on your trade situation, though, it's Sorry, Spills.
No, you're right, mate. I was going to say, I reckon there's a fair chance that Humphrey could be more than Mills at some point. So imagine if you held Bailey Humphrey all the way until Mills gets to like nothing because he's
Mills. You love him, don't you?
What is with Are you
It's
talking
because
about
I reckon it was 3 years ago he went to start him, right? And he told me all I reckon it was maybe 3 years ago, Spills.
2021.
2021
was a
Yeah, and Spills is like, mate, I'm starting this bloke as a pod, mate. I'm starting him. Never started him and just smashed it. And he's always.
You don't know why though? I didn't think he was playing round
I
one.
got him, man. You know, I didn't get him. Or was there an issue? Was it the Achilles or something? Was it all?
Yeah, he was like I thought he was out for round one, but then as I went to get him in, I walked out.
Right.
Like he
and I
didn't want to go early, and I just sort of stuffed it up. But
remember when I calls every week?
Super hot, the super hot on him. But you're getting him for like you're getting for like 420. Like it'd be
You've been waiting since 2021, haven't you, mate? You've been waiting for this, mate. You just want to jump on this bloke, mate. I've never seen someone so keen to jump on some sort of a fallen friend.
Frothing Callum Mills.
He'll be M9. He'll be M9. It'll be so beautiful. Oh, I can't wait.
Beautiful M9. I'll give you as an M9.
Spills,
not M8.
Just for you, I'll put away my PTSD from Callum Mills and embrace the pick with you if he does get to 420k.
Well, you played up for him. That's where you went wrong. You go get him for nothing. You got nothing.
Victim blaming. Spills, why victim blaming?
That black cloud, that trade just keeps the trade that keeps giving.
It does. It's just like the Mario Kart thunderstorm. But all right, so I see where you guys are saying yes, let's pay up for the big dogs because they are the ones that are going to carry us to SuperCoach glory, really. But how about I throw a couple of left field picks, 2 this week and 1 next week, that those that may not be in as luxurious of a cash position may be contemplating. Elliot Yeo, Ben Keys, and then next week, Harry Himmelberg. Are any of these guys on your radars? Would you recommend any of them to anyone? And if so, which one would you recommend?
Oh, no.
Spilsy?
Personally, I haven't been eyeing off any of them. I've seen Himmelberg, who's playing down back, but hasn't really set the world on fire, has he? Like 70s and 80s type thing. You're just waiting for that really elite score like we saw a few times last season. I think Benny Keys, he's found some form. Super cheap too, like low 400s. I think he could be a really nice shout. But honestly, I'm not really considering. I can't be much help here, boys. I'm not sure, but I probably like Keys the most out of all of them.
I'm a little bit worried for him this week. I reckon he'll go to Dacos in the back line. But then they put Dacos in the mid. Look, I'm not too sure. Out of the 3, I like Himmelberg the best, personally. Yo really, really worries me with his body.
I couldn't.
And I know that it's not like you're starting with him. And remember, in saying this, we're all looking to start him at that cheaper type price, right? But, although it's only 9-10 rounds to go, he's not a bloke. He's one of the last blokes in the competition that I'd like to have to rely on to be on my field each week. One of the last blokes in the whole competition. So I'm going to scrap Yo. Love his ceiling, great player, all the rest. Keys, look, if he's playing in the midfield, give you 90 plus, I think.
Fair.
But is he going to keep that role? I'm not too sure. Himmelberg, I think, has the biggest ceiling. I think he's the most talented player. And I think he's probably, would you say he's more likely to keep his role than Keys? No, I probably wouldn't go that far. I really like his
I'd
DP
take
keeper.
Himmelberg.
And you know what?
Yeah.
I think Janice, the quick strategy could be, if you're looking for that 23rd type man, you could get a non-playing 102k defensive forward.
Yeah.
Get Himmelberg on your other line. I did that last year with a GWS bloke, Dirksen, I think it was. And then I had McCartans, DeConning. That was a really, really good swing to have. And if you got Seamus as well, just say he's a nice swings with your Sheasels, your JZs, if you're still a JZ holder. So if you're asking me, mate, I like Himmelberg. Keys would be my second preference. Yo would be my last preference. That's how I'd order them anyway.
And I guess something just to add on to Himmelberg is that even though scoring's been a bit, being a bit up and down, or just not exactly what buyers were expecting these last 2 weeks, he's got the role. He's got kick-ins. Yeah. Well, at least a portion of kick-ins.
Whitfield's
not like
out,
last
isn't he?
year.
Whitfield's out.
Yeah, he's out for a week.
There
so
you go.
And they dominated too. GWS killed it. So there wouldn't have been
they are
much
looking like a good team.
There wasn't much opportunity for kick-outs and rebounding when you got bloody Green and Cully just doing whatever. So they kind of had the game in their hands. So that 70, I know he scored 75 or something. You pretty much rule that out because, if it's a close contest, you probably put another 10 points on there for what you pay for him. Should just be really consistent. So I'll probably change my mind. I think Himmelberg as well. Handy DPP, but obviously, he's got the buy, so you might have to wait.
Jason McCartney, the footy boss at GWS, has come out strongly saying that Himmelberg is a defender. And I think this is their ploy to keep him around long term.
Otherwise, there's a spot at the Dons for him if he wants it. But it's up to you.
Hopefully, he doesn't sign early, because imagine if he signs early, they're all right. Sucked in, Harry. Up forward you go, son.
But
just lure him with his contract and absolutely dog him.
Like you guys, I think the fact is, if you can have Elliot Yeo as a D7. Now, the problem is the West Coast don't have too many early games. I'd almost want him to be as my emergency, not as the guy you'd bring on if your emergency fails, because you don't want to trust Elliot Yeo to last a full game. And but if you have him as an emergency, you can just get it. You can screen it. You can screen his score. If it goes well, you can bring him on. But Keys, I'm a bit worried about that. He might be forced into a tagging role like he did against Nick Dacos early this year. They're playing them again at the G. So we're not exactly sure. Luke Pedler's been getting a bit more of a run through that midfield. They just look like an entirely
he's had a good couple of weeks, though.
Better midfield. How good does the Adelaide midfield look this year compared to Harry Schomburg and Matt Brown?
They flipped it. They look
running through the midfield. It's a completely different midfield mix then. They're paying dividends because that team looks awesome in Adelaide. Let's just hope, as just an AFL sport, I just want to see the Crows play well outside of home. Get over the Pies. That's my hot take. We haven't had one in a while, but the Crows, let's pencil them in for a big win against the Pies.
Love it, Janath. Love it, mate.
If they get a home elimination final, they're going to be hard to beat, Adelaide. If they get a home
they're a good side, Adelaide. They're a good side.
I don't think they will, but if they do,
did a couple of weeks ago.
We've both, DR and I, we both copped the wrath of Adelaide, haven't we?
Yes, we have, mate. We have. We certainly have. Not fun.
It's not fun at all. Well, that sort of bookends our discussion points for this week. Like last week, DR, hopefully you'll be able to do a sort of a mailbag segment, because most of these discussion points are what's sort of discussed in the mailbag. There's just a couple of team-specific questions. So
we covered most of it.
We have covered most of it. I'll just hand over to you if you just want to give a quick spiel.
Yeah, so basically what I'll do, guys, is for all the Twitter comments, usually we obviously love to open the mailbag, and thank you for all the questions. I don't know how many there actually are. I can see 38 in brackets on my Twitter screen there. I'm assuming they're not bloody 38 questions.
audience.
I'll like I did exactly like I did last week. I'll dedicate a separate video just for the mailbag. Look, we weren't sure when we started the pod. We said, look, if we get to a certain time, then we'll get to the mailbag. But looking at the time now, we're
an hour through.
We'll be here for bloody ever. So I'll do a separate video. So shout out to all the legends that did leave a question on the mailbag this week. Thank you very much, as I said, for the support and the questions. I'll definitely get to you and put out a video definitely by the first game. So
and
thanks, guys.
I guess the other part of this is the discussion points. Last week we raised Sheldrick, Robertson, Windhager as options that a lot of guys went over their heads. In terms of it just wasn't really thought about. So I guess that's sort of the benefit of having a dedicated discussion points section where we can sort of dissect the big talking points, the big sort of dilemmas facing coaches. And
Kizza was another one. Kizza. Big Benny. Shout out to you, Big Benny. I know you watch each week, mate. Absolute legend, Big Benny. Spills, he gave you a bit of a call out on Twitter after hearing the nickname Big Kizza Brigza. He jumped on straight away after you gave him the nickname. He loved the nickname so much.
Keep a Kizza.
He jumped on. Big Kizza. Get a bit of Kizza in you. So shout out to you, Benny. And nice trade in, mate. Nice trade in. Good advice there, boys, actually.
Just before we go to the trades and captains, the third man up page, we put out a poll whether Miller Bergman and Miles Bergman are related or not.
Huge. It was
and
huge.
I'll tell you what. Wow. I'll tell you what. Good old Damien Ma reached out to Miller, and we got confirmation that they are not brothers. How about that? How ridiculous is that?
I was shocked. I thought they were brothers.
Well.
Yeah, and you had people. I noticed people on the comment like straight out, they're brothers. That was the whole comment. They're brothers. They were so certain. And then you have
people saying they go to Miles's. What is it? Miles's dad's physio. He's the physio. So that's his physio. They got people going to school with Miles and Miller, and you're like, nah, they're not brothers. They're not brothers. So
it's a bizarre convenience, isn't it?
What's that?
It's such a bizarre convenience. I mean, how many
they look like each other, sort of though. I could see.
Yeah,
you know.
Not only that,
but said they're brothers, even without the last name, I'm going, yeah, I'd accept it.
Yeah, but how many Bergmans do you know? And the two just happen to be. They just happen to be playing like AFL. They happen to look alike. There happens to be speculation of Miles going to North. I mean, there's just so much going on.
The AFL website, when Miller debuted, said Miller, the brother of Port Adelaide's Miles.
Who's in charge of that?
Clearly, the AFL doesn't know either. They haven't done blood tests or anything. They
just assume.
Is there another one next year that's... I think looking like a top
coming from everywhere, clearly.
Yeah, well, there you go.
I'll tell you what, it's not Miles' brother, that's for sure, because Miles has an older brother, and clearly
none of them are related, but they all look alike and they have the same last name.
Well, that's a bit of a fun way to sort of transition into the final segments, which are our trades and our captains. Before I ask about our trades, may I ask from you both, how many players do you have playing this week? So how many green dots are you looking at before trades? And then you can sort of say what your trade's looking at the moment, and then how many you'll have after your trades.
Are you organised, Spills? Do you know what you're doing?
I'll take it away.
I'll check out mine, mate. Bloody might be trading out Steele now. Bloody hell. I know what I'm doing.
That's another discussion, but I'm looking at 19 if we get Chester. I don't think we do, but if we don't, I'll get 18. I think the reason I've jumped a bit in the ranks is I'm going a whole bye season with no donut in the rucks. So we've got Rowan, Briggs, and Gawn, all of which are arguably premiums, like ruling out Gawn maybe, bit of a fake primo, but great cover, and they all have different buys. So I can just put Briggs on the bench, and then you got Rowan and Gawn on field. So that allows me to not get a donut all week. So look, yeah, we'll get a donut, but we should get 18 on field, more importantly. So I don't reckon I'll jump too much in the ranks, but I'm just hoping that we maintain it. But if Sicily was playing, boys, I mean, it couldn't have prepared any better. I would have 19 to 20. I mean,
ouch.
But you can't. That's just shit luck. But yeah, we're looking at 18 and 19. 19 best case scenario.
Yeah. I'll
mate.
go
Nice.
to you, DR, if you want to say yours.
Yeah, well, before trades, I'm actually on 16 before trades. So after trades, I'm looking at 18 on the dot.
And your trades for this week?
Yeah, well, it's I've got so many options, mate. So my round review, I actually did one scenario where I completed the side. Done.
I saw that, man.
Just this week, right? But it was all about that cover. We talked about it with that Ashcroft cover. So my head's a little bit all over the shop at the moment. I'll need a good hour after we finish, boys, to really think carefully about this. But before we had the Steele discussion, it was out Chincotta, Johnson, and Ford. And in was Windhager, Marich, and Decam. So Decam, I think, is a ripping trade in this week if you don't have him. Like, he provides ruck cover. I think he's pretty safe for a 95 plus average from here, and I think that's low. I'd give him 100 plus. Number one ruck roll. You know he's injured. Think about what he did at the start of the season. People were jumping on him to bring him in. I think he's just such an easy trade option this week. I love him. I've been penciling him in for a fair while now for this reason. If you got your Briggsy, you're gone. Look, none of the rucks have great durability, do they? Let's be honest. So you really want some ruck cover. There's 9-10 rounds to go. So Decam's a big player for me. And Windhager, yeah, well, it was out of pretty much Dev, Sheldrick, and him because I'm not really confident. We didn't even have the rookie discussion this week because I think there's bugger all. People asked me about Jasper Fletcher. There was a question about him, I'm pretty sure, on the Mailbag Twitter post. I'll get to that in a separate video. Won't worry about it now.
Quick one line on Fletcher then. Is that, if that's okay?
Okay. Absolute gun of the future. Played his role magnificently. Someone has to go out, though, for Dane Zorko. That's a guarantee.
There's a buck.
I think it's probably Lohman who's first. McCluggage should be back this week as well. Then you're looking at, sorry, Spills, your Devs, your Fletchers. Because no, I can't see anyone else going out. Unless, and this is a bit of a smoky to maybe go out, a Link McCarthy. He hasn't been in great form. But if Link goes out, I think Lohman stays in. Lohman is our next Link McCarthy. He's our future Link McCarthy. So please sign him up, Lions. He's not signed up yet. This kid is a jet, I'm telling you. I want games into him because I don't want to lose him. He's a gun, and I've got a feeling Victorian side's going to get him for a bloody bargain next year. So on Fletcher, if he keeps his spot, it's going to be really tough for the young fella to maintain it. He's got to play out of his skin to maintain it. And can he play a better match than what he did last week? Probably, hopefully, but it was a pretty good debut, wasn't it? So, look, even if he's named this week, I just don't know about after that.
Big calls that day, massive calls. If that is the case, I think West Coast should start throwing the checkbook at Robertson and get him over back to WA.
100% they should.
Might as well.
100%
as if they wouldn't.
They'll be crazy if they don't, man.
They're the richest club in the AFL. Like, they've got the money. I mean, back him in. They need another midfielder.
Dev and Lohman are both unsigned, and I feel that both of those players are actually going to be a really important part of our future. So that genuinely concerns me from a Lions perspective. But it is what it is, man. You know, you win some, you lose some.
Thanks, DR, for that sort of rundown. It is a bit interesting because this is the week where if a debutant is named, I can see a lot of guys players, super coaches jumping on them just for the fact that just fresh bodies this week. And we sort of had the discussion last week. When's the word?
He's 150 though as well.
Sacrificing a donut. And I guess that's the thing where it almost feels as though we have missed the ship on the Windhager, Robertson, Sheldrick type because they're not cash generators anymore. These guys are going to be in your final team, so you have to go for the better job security. So I think in your case, DR, Windhager is the one. I'll just finish off with where I'm at for this week. So I'm on 18 at the moment, pre-trades.
Pre-trades, good position, mate. Really nice position.
Great preparation.
That's assuming Johnson plays. I'm not convinced he does. He was. I don't know why he was subbed out. Apparently, he got injured, but he's been cleared.
I heard he got a knock or a cork or something. Yeah, that's what I heard. Yeah, I didn't realize at the time during the game. I didn't realize that.
Subbed out, and it was always going to happen that he would get shifted to a wing, a shout, O'Meara in, no other true winger in. It made sense.
Yeah.
But if he plays, then I should have 20 because I'm going to be doing.
Man.
I'll be looking at Ashcroft out, Chincotta out, Ford out, and looking at a Petracca or Oliver. I'm not convinced on Harvey Harrison because that would mean I'd have 2 forwards at F7 and F8 that don't have DPP, and then Campbell Chesser. I know it's a bit ridiculous, but he's got a decent role within the West Coast team. And things, it's not really great. It's not ideal. But if that's what needs to be resorted to, I'm happy to do that, given that there's a bit of bench cover in the midfield there. So that's what I'm looking at. And then we might as well, so that would get us up to 20. It's sort of come at the expense of some of the other buy rounds where it hasn't been as great. And holding Jordan Goey 2 weeks ago in round 13 wasn't the best idea in hindsight if I did end up trading him, but we can't do anything about that. Hindsight is 2020. So we'll just come and fold this into our captains then for this week. So at the moment, I'm looking at a VCC of Josh Dunkley into Sack Merritt. I think that Dunkley is in brilliant form. He could be tagged against the Saints, which is something that I haven't sort of paid as close attention to, but his last 4 games have been 153, 146, 148, 137. If you give any of those 4 scores, take that happily as a VC. And then Sack Merritt, Fremantle have been kind of, they've been giving up some points in the midfield. Even Josh Kelly, Tom Green, Stephen Caniglia all turned up on the weekend. It does give me a bit of an indication that they're sort of giving up bulk points to midfielders. It'd be a bit interesting to see if Darcy Parish... Yeah, exactly. If Darcy Parish doesn't get named, then lock it in. If he does, maybe falling, may change this up to sort of a Clayton Oliver or Petracca into Dunkley, but again, Murphy's Law, so not sure on that. So right now, Dunkley into Merritt. Rory Laird against Collingwood is a decent shout. Just not sure if there's going to be enough points going around at the MCG in a game that Adelaide may or may not be competitive in, even though I said they may win. So we'll see. Spills, what are you looking at for your VCNC this week? No Kieran Briggs to put into the discussion this week, unfortunately. So you might have to look elsewhere.
You said in your round review you were going to go through all that as well.
I was. So I'm very happy that Dunkley did enough because that would have ended badly if I captained Briggs over Bont. But he still went really.
Oh man, that would have been funny.
We were saying it. We were telling Spills. We sent into him last week.
I would have been absolutely livid, boys. Well, I guess I should probably touch on my trades before I do my my VCNC. So yeah, this is really annoying. This is typical Supercoach fashion. But the plan was to go Ford down and then Cincotta up to Neil. So Neil in and then Marek in. So that would have worked. I'm 25k too short to do that because Neil went 144 and Ford went 30. So look, you're a bit stiff there. I probably would have got that done quite easily if you sort of turn the tables. If Ford goes 60 and Neil goes 120, we're probably having a different discussion. But what I'm going to do is go MJ Matty Johnson down to Win Hager. And I think Win Hager will probably be my cover. So him, Humphrey and Robertson, see what happens job security wise. Who gets dropped will decide who goes out of from my last sort of upgrade. But probably looking at that. So yeah, that'll get me 19 on field if we do get Chesser. I'm not banking on that, but if we do, it's 19. So you take that anyway. So yeah, looking at that, I think Neil's got to come in like just below 600k, 80 or 90 break even. Found form, clear top 8. Take the value where you get it. So yeah, I don't think you can do no wrong jumping on Shockey. And then Win Hager, I'm not that convinced on. It was going to be Fletcher, so I could bank that money. But then I got sort of talked out of it on Twitter by the likes of your Huey McCluggage types. Come back. So someone's got to leave the squad. It's a tough team. So if Robertson's going to get dropped, I think Fletcher's definitely getting dropped. So, yeah, I think I'm going to pay up just a little bit for job security, and that's why we're going Winhager for 202K. I've got about 45K in the bank now after those trades, and then next week will be the last one that we get the premiums in. So, yeah, so VC, we're looking at Tommy Stewart tomorrow night. Tomorrow night?
That's good.
What day is it, boys? I'm going to play.
Yeah.
Thursday. Yes. Yeah, so I keep forgetting that it's on Thursdays. Yeah, I think at Geelong, early VC, Melbourne have had their accuracy issues. I think there's a few kickouts on the table for Stewie to take. So I'd be happy with a 120. It's a tough week to captain someone. I think we were a bit spoiled for choice last week. But this is, we always talk about what the threshold is week in, week out. It always changes. I think 120, even 115, I wouldn't, but you'd be on the fence. So I'd be tempted too. So we're looking at, I'm going to go Stewart. I just think really, really safe as houses. And then the fallback, haven't decided. At the moment, it is led against Collingwood, but it could well and truly be Zach Merritt against the Dockers. But we'll just see how we feel on the day. But hopefully I don't need to do that.
Few options, Well, I'm going at this stage, I was thinking along the same lines as Janath the VC in Josh Dunkley. Look at his last 5 weeks. It's almost like you can't not have him in your combo. It's I'm a massive fan of him having early game as well. And I tell you what, mate, I wouldn't go there. This is a huge risk, right?
Sinclair?
This could pay off, or this could go terribly. Errol. So Errol's playing West Coast.
Every time with VC see Errol, he doesn't do well.
Yeah, that's it. Here's a bloody curse. I wouldn't go there. I was thinking Laird myself against Collingwood, but I'll look into Zerett's numbers, Janath. Interesting you brought that up. And Spills as well, even with Tom Stewart, that interests me as well. So it's definitely going to be Dunkley. And then, Laird or Zerett, but probably Lairdy after missing out last week. Oh, but it always happens, doesn't it? The week before, scores massively. You get him in as captain next week. Goes like, I'll just say Dunkley into Laird for now, but definitely may change during the week.
Awesome. Well, I guess that wraps up the podcast season 3, episode 12 for today. The round 15 preview, round 14 review. It was a great episode, boys. It was the Bears were flying. DR got a couple drive-bys off you, but you're a very good mate, so I have to take it easy on you.
Took it well, Janath.
Yeah.
Right on the chin.
I always get flamed for bringing in Callum Mills. It just feels like my legacy for this year.
I love reminding you about it.
Spills just wants to do a drive-by few. Spills wants to trade him in for bugger all. Wants him to average 120 and goes, take that, Janice, mate.
I want to sideways Humphrey for him.
Oh, that wouldn't be a drive-by. That would be like a monster truck driving over you. That would be so painful, man.
It'd be like a
stab in the back.
Oh,
it's like turn around and stab in the back.
It's like going over your beloved car or something with a monster truck. That's exactly it. Well, thanks as always, guys, for your support. We love hearing and just looking at sort of positive stories, the outcomes for your teams that come out of this podcast in itself. We shall see you next week. Good luck for this week, the final bye round. We'll see you at the end of this, and hopefully we'll come out the other side with it, off this with a good score.
See you,
Catch you next week.